Is 3D printing Warhammer stuff? In today's video, we're going to talk about, is it really cheating to print your own Warhammer miniatures? Should you print your own Warhammer miniatures? And what to do if you want to, but you're unsure of what that might look like. So here's the main crux of it. You probably want to ask, is it legal to print Warhammer stuff? And the answer is yes and no. Okay, so let's walk through both of these things here real quick. No, it's not illegal to print things that are like Space Marines or like Imperial Guard or aliens or things like that. You can't actually copyright an entirety of a thing, right? Because then otherwise Games Workshop would have a lot of trouble with like Starship Troopers and other sci-fi things that came before them. And if you think about their other side of things, the fantasy side, elves and dwarves and humans existing in fantasy settings, you can't copyright that stuff, right? So in that sense, no, it's not illegal to print Warhammer stuff, but yeah, it is illegal to print exactly Warhammer stuff. For example, if you were to take, the big Ultramarine himself, Robert Guilliman, and you printed somebody's STL file that they found on the internet that was exactly the same sculpt from Games Workshop, well, yeah, that would be stealing and illegal and wrong. Why? Well, because it's intellectual property versus plastic minis that just exist out there, right? Because there are a lot of plastic miniatures that just exist out there, and that's fine, right? There are tanks, there are people wearing power armor, right? Think of Mega Man, right? You could have an army of Mega Mans, and that'd probably be fine with Games Workshop in a sense. More on that in a second. But the idea is that you can't just print something that somebody sculpted and print it for your own instead of buying it through Games Workshop. Games Workshop paid a sculptor to sculpt it exactly that way, and then they did, and then they made a mold for it, and then they sell those minis, and they hopefully paid their sculptors a fair, reasonable wage for the work that they did. If you or I print that exact same thing on our 3D printer, yeah, that's stealing, and that's wrong. We should not do that. But okay, so then the question is, can you play Warhammer with 3D prints? Well, sure you can. In fact, of course you can. Just like you could play Warhammer with these, army men that you could buy on Amazon for $8 for 500 of them, or however much they come. Just like that, you can play Warhammer with these kinda Space Marines from Station Forge, a creator that I support on Patreon, and I think you should too. You can play Warhammer with 3D prints. You just talk to your friend and you say, hey, this guy here that looks like a Space Marine with a bolt pistol, he's a Space Marine with a bolt pistol, and then this guy's my captain, and those are my Terminators, on and on and on, and then you make sure that you know and understand what everybody is playing with. And just because they don't look like Games Workshop official minis doesn't mean you can't play the game of Warhammer with minis that aren't Games Workshop. You can play with whatever you've got. Now, of course, playing with the 3D, the green guys would cause some trouble with base sizes unless you glued them onto a base with, you could probably get there. It would just take some time. The idea, though, is, yeah, of course you can play Warhammer with 3D printed stuff. In fact, I kind of want you to. It's going to be a little cheaper to go that route, and 3D printing things is really fun. I personally am enjoying it a lot. And so here's the rub, right? Yeah, you can 3D print things that aren't exact copies of Games Workshop IP, and you can play Warhammer or whatever war game you want with those 3D prints. But can a store kick you out for having 3D prints? Well, I mean, that really depends on the store. There's some local places where I live here in San Antonio that say no prints, no proxies whatsoever. Okay, like that's their store's rules. Just like if you came over to my house, I'd really prefer you not to track mud all over my house. A business can say, yeah, this is cool in my store and this is not, and that's totally fair. But if you have 3D printed models in only one local gaming store, just play at your house or your friend's house or rent some space. I don't know. Like, this is a game that I recently played with my buddy. He's playing with his towel, Games Workshop towel that he bought from Games Workshop and painted up, and they look phenomenal. And I'm playing with my orc army, a very recently printed orc army. You'll even see here these goblin walkers. Those are the legit old school goblin walkers. I've had them for a decade. They're only painted red. I'm working on it, okay? But like these trucks over here, whoop, those are also from Station Forge. A fantastic print, and they're so good I printed 3 of them so that I could play my buddy with orcs. And the reason I wanted to do that was because I knew he mostly plays his brothers who have Space Marines and Imperial Guard. And so he's really only played Warhammer versus Space Marines and Imperial Guard. I like Imperial Guard, but I also kind of like orcs, and I've got a 3D printer, so I've got an orc army now. And my buddy and I got to play a game, and it was a lot of fun. Now, hold on, don't hear me say don't support your local store. Absolutely support your local store. Go into there, buy stuff from them. It's probably cheaper than on the Games Workshop website. But here's the deal. If your local store isn't cool with having 3D printed miniatures in their store, don't push it or be a jerk. Respect their rules, right? You probably want to buy paints. Well, buy them from your local store. And if you use those paints to go home and paint your 3D printed models, that's fine. Do that. Nobody's stopping you from doing that. You can, and you should. What I love about 3D printing is it's a great way to get your friends into wargaming. It works really, really well because over time, you, the owner of a 3D printer, can probably print off 1, 2, 3, I don't know, armies and be able to let your friends come over to your place and borrow them. More than likely, you have a kitchen table. And you can play Warhammer on your kitchen table. You might even want to like make it look nice, and you can watch this video to see how I took my kitchen table and turned it into an acceptably epic wargaming table. It was a lot of fun, and you could probably do the same thing. Is it legal to print 3D print stuff from Warhammer? Okay, things that you can play Warhammer with, yes. But the exact sculpts and prints from Games Workshop, please don't do that. That's bad. And as much as I harp on how Games Workshop, I don't kind of like their business practices because I feel like I'm paying for a lot of things that should just be free. Don't steal Games Workshop stuff. If not for them, for you. I don't want you to get in legal trouble. And this is just because I love you. I think you're great. And I think we should take this relationship to subscribe. But if you are looking for a game that you can play that's free, can I suggest checking out One Page Rules? They're pretty fantastic. They have Age of Fantasy and Grimdark Future, which you might be able to catch on. This is Age of Sigmar and this is Warhammer 40k. They're absolutely free to play and it's a lot of fun. And if you already have models that you like playing Warhammer with, you have everything that you need in order to play a game of One Page Rules. You might even like it. As I've been playing it more and more, I actually really like it a lot more than I like Warhammer. And that's hard to say because I've been playing Warhammer, or at least interested in Warhammer, for a really, really long time. But there's just something about playing one-page rules that I find to be really refreshing and fun. Maybe you would too. But let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you think 3D printing stuff is cheating? If you had friends who owned a 3D printer, would you be okay playing their 3D printed army with your Games Workshop army? Do you care? Do you just want friends to play Warhammer with you? I would love to hear it, and I should be able to contact and words are hard today. I should be able to comment down below because this is a pretty small channel. I'm like this close to 1,000 followers, subscribers, so if you like what you see here and you want to talk about wargaming more with me, do me a favor. I would really appreciate it. Like the video, subscribe, it would be great. I'd try to release something that deals with wargaming every week. Hey, my name is Ronald. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I just want to make sure that you see the bottom of my shirt. This is important. Don't eat kids. That's the point, is not to eat kids. Okay, I'm gonna go now. Enjoy the hobby and have a great week. Bye.